presented by Prize Picks. Get $50 instantly when you play $5 with the promo code Welcome to Light Years. Andy Lou, it's September.
It is September. It is September. Wow,
it's weird, right? September. Like summer's. I mean, technically, Bay Area summer goes until like mid-October, but it's like, Labor Day weekend happened. Summer's officially over for what that means, and like, fuck, man, Warriors are starting camp in like 3 weeks. The NFL's back tomorrow. The Niners are back on Monday. It happened so quick what, the Olympics were useful for us because we got our Steph fix, and it was really just about like 3 weeks of not a lot going on, and then next thing you know, we're back. The
Olympic, we need sports year round, so I'm every 4 years the Olympics saves us. By the way, for those that are listening, everyone, obviously go to bluewirepods.com/survey. If you complete the Blue Wire audience survey, get a chance to win a $500 gift card. Simple as that. Complete the survey. I just did it this morning. It's like takes 30 seconds. Complete the survey. You get a chance to win $500. That's it. Help us out.
Nice.
All right.
Do it. Don't do it for you. Do it for me and Andy. Come on. Be a team player for once, guys.
I love you all.
So you saw the Warriors are doing training camp or not the whole training camp, but they're doing the opening part of training camp in Hawaii. Kind of envious. Kind of want to go to Hawaii. It's been a while. You just went. Lucky fuck.
When's the last time you went to Hawaii? When's the last time you've been to Hawaii?
2021.
Oh
yeah, 2021.
3 years, not bad. 3 years.
No. I mean, it really is paradise. It's like you go there and it's just kind of like, what if I become one of those people who lives in a vacation spot year round? It never happens, but
very expensive. I looked it up because, like you said, every time you go there, you start looking at like, all right, how much does it cost to get a beachside property? I will say this though, just thinking about it, and obviously now that I'm gonna have a kid in a couple months, it is like the perfect spot to bring your kid. Like it is like you can sit on the beach, like run around the sand. Like it's not like going to a city. You know what I mean? You don't got to move around that much. So I never thought about it, obviously, because I've never had a kid. But now I think I'm like, it's kind of perfect for kids that are like, I don't know how old, maybe not 1 or 2, but I saw a lot of 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7 running around. It's kind of perfect. I get it. I see the vision. It's why people go to Hawaii every year.
Yeah. Or just honestly, just like go down the coast, literally just run around somewhere pretty. Doesn't matter. So
is it the first time the Warriors have done it in Hawaii? Is it the first time ever, or is this?
I feel like the last, pretty much during the dynastic run, it seems like anytime they've done camps away from the Bay Area, it's always been in Asia. So like last year in Japan, or was that 2 years ago? It was in Japan.
3 years ago. Yeah.
And then they obviously, China, which Steve used as an excuse for the whole year sucking, and a few other places. So yeah, I can't remember the last time they've done it. Maybe it is the first time. Certainly the first time during the Steve Kerr era that they've done it, which is all that really matters in this context. Media day is the 30th. Their first preseason game is a month away. It will be October 5th, and I'm just starting to get my head around the idea that, like, damn, we're pretty close. We're pretty close to, stuff coming. We get word that Davis Bertrands is getting a camp contract. I don't think that means he's going to make the team. Troy Brown Jr. still probably a week away from them releasing the camp roster, so not much to react to there. But yeah, man, I'm just getting my head ready for it again. I wanted to ask you this. When they start camp, what are you hoping to hear out of the team? Let me preface this by saying 2 years ago, the punch. That's all we heard. That's all we heard about, and for good reason. It kind of changed everything, right? And I feel like last year, all we heard about was CP3 propaganda about like how connect. That's all they said. We're connected. We're so connected this year. We're so connected. We're connected to the 10 seed, but it was just all it was talking about how the punch is gone. We're in a better spirits now. So like, what do you want to hear this time?
There's only one thing that we need to hear, and it's about two players, but it's one thing. It's the growth of, I think, the two young guys that will lead this team either after Steph's career or right now. Good enough to lead them right now to, I don't know, a playoff spot or a first round exit or a second round exit, or God forbid they make it to the Western Conference Finals. It's Pods and Kuminga. It's how good those two are. To me, I'll take it one step further. It's actually how good those two are playing together. They need to figure out how to play together, because I think the true potential of this team is those two guys closing games together. One being an extra ball handler, shooter, scorer, Pods. The other one being just a super athletic wing that can get to the rim. All that stuff. They need both those guys. We need to hear the Pods Kuminga propaganda. I think we're already hearing the Pods propaganda. Like, I saw his dad tweeting today about hey, my kids getting extra shots, gonna be great. Like, we've heard that all summer long. We haven't heard anything on Kuminga. I've heard a thing. I've seen some videos of him dunking the ball, which congratulations, against guys that look like me. But I haven't heard anything else. Like, is he better? Right? The only thing we heard about Kuminga is he getting an extension, which
yeah,
right, Sam? Those two guys are going to be on the team, Kuminga and Potts. They are not going anywhere. So I need to hear some propaganda.
And they will open the season as starters. If they are not starting, that's a tear. No, there's just zero way in which Steve can't start them. If they're not starting, that means that they did not improve enough over the summer. Like, I like D'Anthony Melton. We're going to talk about him a little later. But I think if everything breaks right, Pods takes a step as that bigger ball handler next to Steph, and Melton is the third guard who fits with both of them. That's like pie in the sky. Everything breaks correctly, right? That's what it looks like. And in Kuminga's case, I mean, he wants the big extension. He's probably the most likely guy to be the second leading scorer on this team. He needs to be in the starting lineup. If he's not, again, it means something's happening when the cameras aren't on during camp that's not good. So I kind of agree with your point, which is like, I know Fitz is going to tell me they look amazing, but I need to hear it from Steph and Draymond. I need to hear it from people being like, they took that jump over the summer. Yep. Yeah. And for me, it's like, I want to hear that Kuminga can shoot the ball. I want to hear that. And by shoot the ball, I mean, he can hit threes. Like, he's not hesitating on that. I know he can dunk. I know he can get to the rim. I want to know that this is the year that if they leave him open, he can stick an open shot like Andrew Wiggins. You know, that's kind of what I want to hear on that front. I think
Wiggins going to be on the team.
We'll talk about that later.
He's still around.
The other thing I really want to hear, I want to hear positive Draymond stuff. It's hard. This team is going to go as far as Steph and he lead them. I'm not concerned about Steph being professional and leading and doing his job. Draymond, we know what it looks like when he's locked in and the effect it has on all his teammates. And we also know what it looks like when he's not locked in and the effect that it has on all his teammates. Yep. So that's the one I really like. I know he can do it. I know that part of the 2021-22 season title run was Draymond was the best defensive player in the league until he hurt his back. He was out of his mind in the early season. He was playing playoff caliber basketball. He was locked in a way that just very few players can do. And since that season, he's kind of been a clown opening. I don't know what else to say. He punched Jordan Poole. That eventually tanked the season. And last year, he couldn't stop choking out dudes until MLK Day. Literally could not stay in lineup until mid-January. So my favorite player. I want him to do it, but and there's the other aspect to it. He's just too big a personality. You know what I mean? If he's not serious, it will rub off on everyone else. Also, they just won't be able to defend if he's not serious. That's the other aspect. That's just the other aspect. He's also just the second best player on the team. No matter if you like him or you dislike him, he does more things that matter to winning than anyone. So
by far the second best player on the team. Prime Clay had an argument for second best player on the team years and years ago, right? But I would still argue even in 2015 pre-KD, Draymond was the second best player on the team. And then obviously KD was on the team. So I agree with you. I haven't heard anything about Draymond. We haven't heard anything about Draymond. I'm not even talking about behind the scenes. I'm talking about like just online. Overall, we haven't heard much on Draymond since at all. He went to the Olympics, right? But that's about it.
Yeah, he took a podcast break. God.
Maybe he's training. I know I'm being a little facetious on the Draymond and coming all that stuff, but I do think not hearing anything about those guys is a good thing. Because you know how we always make fun of well, I think players that just are online, Ben Simmons, posting stuff, Clay's kind of posting stuff online about him in scrimmages, right? Like people that post that type of stuff to me always feels like you're overcompensating, right? It's a little like, oh, look, I'm still good, right? It's like, look, we know you're an NBA player. We know you're going to crush in every single scrimmage and 99.9% of scrimmages in the entire world, right? You're an NBA player. We don't need to see that type of stuff. So I think on the other hand, it's like, we haven't heard much about Kuminga, haven't heard much about Draymond. I think those are good things, means they're actually probably in the lab. Which by the way, we know guys like Draymond and Steph, those are the hardest working guys. You hear about those guys behind the scenes. Those are the hardest working guys. Draymond was really good last season when he was on the court.
Yeah, but like part of the reason they were the 10 seed was he kind of tanked the first 35 games of the season.
I know. I'm just saying, but when he did play, he was good, right? It's different from Wiggins, who tanked the first 35 because he was out of shape, right? It's different. Sure. Like, he wasn't good. He was on the court. Draymond just wasn't freaking on the court. When he was on the court, he was still very good. So hey, can you marry the two somehow?
Exactly. Who do you think's going to be the training camp surprise?
I got one for you.
Or what do you think? What will be the training camp surprise? I guess technically you could always punch another guy. Surprise!
I actually guarantee this. Samuel. I guarantee this one. Moses Moody.
And Andy Stone Cold Lock.
Stone Cold Lock. TikTok. Turn it on. Everything. Make it a take. I don't care. It's Moses Moody. It has to be. And I think partly whether it's true or not, it's going to be them instilling confidence in him. Because, let's be real. They've short shrifted him for a couple years now.
He's been the odd man out for 3 years, and I don't think it's because of things he's not doing. He's just got unlucky. Yeah,
correct. Politically, he's not a superstar or anything, but he's deserved more than what he's got so far. And so I think they'll use this training camp to just be like, he's taking another leap. He's gonna get the minutes, and we're gonna sit here and we're gonna laugh because we're gonna say, hey, Steve's bullshitting again, right? But I do think this is the year. This is the year Moses Moody plays 15 minutes a game. But this is the year I think he's the shot's going to be quicker. He's going to be quicker. He's going to play quicker. The game's going to slow down for him. He was still really young when he was drafted. I know he makes it seem like he's 28 years old, but he's not an old player.
He's he's a few months older than Kuminga. They're the same age.
16 years old,
They're both going to be 22 at the beginning of the season. So
correct. Yeah. And we always talk about Kuminga. I think it's the obvious one. The potential is super high, but I think Moses Moody is going to be the surprise player. I think we're going to hear about him a lot. I actually wouldn't be surprised if and this is going to be, we're going to do another pod on this because we got a ton of time, but he's going to take a ton of Buddy Hield's minutes to me. I think Buddy Hield is going to be unplayable midway through the season. Moses Moody going to get a ton of those minutes, but Moses Moody is the guy for me.
Oh, I think Moses is going to be glued to the bench. I'm sorry. I think, and I'm just going to play through it for you right now. Yeah. Pods, Melton, Steph will be the backcourt rotation. Wiggins going to start at the 3. I think Buddy Hield is going to get more minutes than Moses Moody because he's a better shooter and he plays that role. I think Lindy Waters is going to get into the mix. So I'm a broken man. I'm over Moses Moody even getting a shot. I kind of wanted him just be traded because A, they need to get a better player, and B, he needs to be set free. Yeah. But I mean, Steve, here's the thing. Kerr doesn't think he's a guard. Kerr doesn't think he can play. He wants him. He's a wing to Kerr, and Wiggins is just a better wing or gets more opportunity than him. So I think he, short change. I don't disagree with anything you're saying, but I'm not saying that. My prediction is DeAnthony Melton is going to be the darling of the coaching staff. I think he's a fucking hell of a player. He's by far their best point of attack defender since GP2's probably physically washed,
Yep.
And he could shoot it, which GP2 never could. And he's a quick decision maker. I could just see Steve falling in love with him because he's just a winning player, does a bunch of good things really well. Profiles is kind of GP2 plus, that sort of thing. I think he's going to be the guy that like Steph and others like, damn, he's fucking good, man. He's good. That's my prediction. Not as exciting, but that's what I think's happening.
No, I think I don't even think that's a prediction. I think that's facts. It's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
They love him. I mean, you say GP2 plus, he's Drew Holiday minus, right? Like and Steph's been wanting to play with Drew his whole damn life. So
that style of player. Yeah, for sure.
This is the one.
Cool. Let's pay some bills.
The Light Years podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. Use promo code Light Years. As simple as it is. Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, just you against the numbers. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. Watch the winnings roll in. Get on the daily action with your friends. Become part of the Prize Picks community today. Football is back. Football is back tomorrow. Football is back this weekend. Football is back next Monday. So sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Let me say that again. Sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play $5, right? So what can you do with the $5? You can go one Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. That's 4 weeks starting this week of free W's. Don't miss this deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. I think Tyreek Hill will get more than 90.5 yards in week 1. I mean, doesn't he always? Aaron Jones run for more than 66.5. Cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this football season when you and your crew run your game on Prize Picks. Prize Picks, the best way to win real money this football season. Look, I got some other ones for you. Patrick Mahomes throw for more or less than 4,300 yards. I think more. Will CJ Stroud's sophomore season result in more or less than 4,150 yards more? Enter your season picks before week 1 kicks off. Prize Picks available in 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LIGHTYEARS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LIGHTYEARS on Prize Picks for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, Light Years podcast. We are brought to you by Raycon. You may have heard me talk about Raycon's everyday earbuds before and thought the same. Audio quality I expect from the big guys, but half the price sounds pretty good. But if you haven't pulled the trigger on a pair of Raycons, or even if you have, but you're in the market for another pair because they're just that good, now is the time to check them out because they just launched their upgraded model of the best-selling everyday earbuds with Raycon's upgraded everyday earbuds. Now you also get active ergonomic design, multi-point connectivity, lets you pair with 2 devices at once, and active noise cancellation. So I went to Hawaii last week, right? 6-hour flight. Used to using the other earbuds. Usually hurts my ears after 5 hours, especially with noise cancellation. Did not get that with Raycon. So would recommend Raycon's 5 hours noise cancellation. Air felt perfectly fine. Also, quick charge function, 5-hour flight, thing runs out of batteries. 10 minutes of charging yields 90 minutes of battery. You've got the weatherproof, sweat-resistant feature, earbud tap functions to reduce discomfort when using them. So go to buyraycon.com/lightyears today to get 50% off your Raycon order plus free shipping. That's right. You'll get 15% off free shipping at buyraycon.com/lightyears. Buyraycon, RAYCON.com/lightyears.
Shout out Raycon. Cool. Let's talk a few others. So I don't think we really talked about this, but we all agree. Melton, Kyle Anderson, Slow-Mo, and Buddy Hield, like they kind of feel like the type of veterans that we wanted this team to add for a few years now that they haven't done, right? Like just like good winning veterans, and it's ironic they do it now, but we're like, but they don't have a second star, but so whatever. But with that said, we know that they want to get one, and we'll see what they do. We can talk about that every episode, but I prefer not to. All right, so I wanted to ask you, of those three, who are you most excited for on the Warriors? And then who do you think will be the most impactful for the Warriors?
So I'm gonna explain the two the one that I'm not high on, the one I'm medium high on, and the one that I really like. So Buddy Hield's the guy that I'm not as high on. I think if the Warriors play Buddy Hield a ton of minutes, it's probably a bad thing, right? Defense is atrocious, and chucks a lot. That's not someone I think the Warriors need to be playing 30 plus minutes a game. I don't think they want him to play 30 plus minutes a game, but I do think if you see Buddy Hield averaging 18 and a half points a month into the season, I think that's a problem because that's too reliant on that player, one-way player. I don't think that's actually a player Steve Kerr would necessarily love. I think you just want to replace Clay shooting with someone, see if he can just bring a spark off the bench. So not as high on him, but if he plays 10, 12 minutes a game, I think that's a good thing for the Warriors. D'Anthony Melton, I love D'Anthony Melton as much as you. The only problem I think with him is that the injuries. He's had injuries the last couple seasons. I think it does slow him down. It'd be nice if he could play 75 games. Maybe they get the Otto Porter Jr. year out of him. Maybe you get they get the GP2 year out of him. I'm sure that's what he wants because it's a 1-year contract, right? After this year, he's going to try to get his 15 mil a year or 20 mil a year. But he's always, I think, been someone that I think it's been some nicks and bruises. But I do like him. The guy that I'm most excited about is Kyle Anderson. Dude, he's gonna close some games. I guarantee it. He's a perfect Warrior. He can defend, right? Really good underrated defender. I think similar to kind of how Otto Porter was at the 4. Just really knows how to pass, really knows how to play. Obviously doesn't shoot as good as Otto, but he's perfect for the Warriors because it's a disgusting spacing combo with Kyle Anderson and Draymond, and that's what Steve Kerr loves. It's what he loves. It reminds me of Looney Draymond a little bit. Draymond's a better rebounder, right? Guards bigs better, but kind of the same idea, right? You put those two guys together, and here it comes. It just connects everything defensively. Now you've got two guys that are really, really good. How many times are we going to watch Kyle Anderson set the right back screen or make the right pass to Steph? How many times are we going to see it this season? It's going to be beautiful. That's the guy who I think is the most impactful. I'm super excited because it's Kyle Anderson. I'm super excited to see him. I think he's going to be the most impactful. I think he's closing games more than Melton.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. The funny thing about Kyle Anderson is he fills a lot of the Livingston Iguodala functions that this team hasn't had. And I think he's going to be good. And the funniest thing about the Warriors is they just don't have enough shooting anymore. They really don't. I don't know how you play slow-mo Draymond together if everyone else on the court isn't a shooter. And you could do it if they're shooters, but Kuminga's not a shooter. Okay, so he can't play in those lineups unless his shot comes around. Wiggins, half of last year, he wasn't a shooter. Half of last year, he was afraid to shoot the ball for whatever reason. That's a problem. That's how I think you're kind of shortchanging how much Buddy Hield might end up getting on the floor because he's good. I'll tell you this, he'll be guarded 28 feet out. And even if he's just running around to open stuff up, it'll still work to some level. So that's why I'm looking at this roster, and I agree with you. I think Melton's going to play the most minutes of them just because he's got the youngest legs. I think he has averaged 27-ish minutes a game, and I think he's probably going to average on the Warriors. Probably going to play between 20 and 30. There'll be games where he goes 30 plus. There'll be games where he goes 20 plus. But you just feel him when he's on the floor. He does a lot of winning things defensively, hits shots. Anderson will probably play more 20 minutes because he's a little older, but they'll be felt. And your point, he does a lot of stuff that they haven't had backups who can do now.
I wouldn't be surprised if they both closed, Melton and Slow-Mo.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't be surprised if Steve went with a Steph, Melton, Wiggins. If the shot's there, it's obviously he's going to be in the lineup. Draymond, Slow-Mo lineup. Yeah. The Warriors lineup. And it can work against a lot of teams. I really do think it can. So I don't know. I'm probably most excited about Melton, if I'm being honest with you. I just think it's going to be fun to have a guard who can do the things GP2 does, but more in terms of shooting so he can stay on the floor a little more. Because that was always the thing with GP2. That you love the defense, but no one's guard. He has to play the center on offense,
Do you think GP2 is a better defensive player than Melton?
Not anymore. All right, you're asking me like, is the GP2 and the 2022 season
No,
better
right
than
now?
Melton?
Yeah, just right now because that's all that matters right now.
No, I don't. I don't know that. Well, I think they're probably a wash, but I don't know that GP2 can stay on the floor enough for it to matter.
It's
So,
facts. It's facts. I mean,
and it's not like Melton hasn't had his own. Like some of it's like if you're just that like like nose on the ball, like you're just gonna get hurt a lot sometimes. So.
Well, that's why they have two. Maybe they'll get 41 games from each guy. I mean, and that'll be perfect. I think, but I think to answer that, in their prime, I do think GP2 was a much better defensive player than Melton. But Melton could dribble the ball. He could shoot threes. Like he's better. It's better overall player. GP2's better at dunking, right? But I mean, Melton and Slomo are perfect Warriors players, man. If they can just get Kuminga to be and Pods to be those second tier guys,
or trade for one.
I've given up on that. It's not happening.
You're just preying on the unrealistic, but maybe big step coming. Yeah.
Sam, listen, I was excited that the Giants brought up Marco Luciano and Luis Matos in a season that is now over. Right? I'm used to this. I'm built for this. You know, Pods and Kuminga, I'm built for this.
Marco Wiseman being unable to field a routine ground ball. Yeah.
Did you watch? We're not talking about
that. I did watch yesterday's game.
Christ,
they're in their Warriors fake comeback phase. I like that. It was but like it was. I was watching because I see it online. Giants was like, why don't they just call up Luciano? And then I watch him get hit a routine ball and bobble it, and I'm just like, that's why. That's why. They can't even trust him to. It's the equivalent of like they can't trust him to set a screen. You know, they can't trust him to. Whatever. Anyway, it's a different thing.
But what I'm saying is that, and I think Kuminga's better than him as a prospect at this point.
Yes,
but yes, in their prime, I would say Luciano was probably a better prospect. But I'm used to praying for young players to develop. It's not any different from the Warriors. I hope those. My season is resting on those two players, man. Those are my guys.
Gonna ignore mountain of evidence that suggests that it's unlikely and watch that one YouTube sizzle reel on repeat.
One game. One game. One Kuminga big games got me locked in. Same with Pods. He did Luciano at bat. You know, that's all I need.
Kuminga had a huge preseason last year, which made his slow start to the season kind of frustrating. I mean, in retrospect, it's like it's preseason, bro. You know, like don't read into it too much. But like, yeah, you know, you are right. Well, we don't need to talk baseball, but
let's keep it moving.
NFL back tomorrow. Niners, of course, get everyone into camp at the last. Actually, ahead of last year, they got Trent Williams into camp like 2 days earlier than they got Nick Bosa last year. They're improving. What a needlessly dramatic offseason.
You think so? I think so. I absolutely think so.
I haven't talked with you about it too much. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on like the Niners negotiation tactics in the offseason? Because it felt like every day was Ayuk. It was Ayuk watch in the morning, Lowry watch in the evening for us. Yeah, and then it just turned into Ayuk watch 24 hours.
It's ridiculous. On one hand, though, it's nice that the Niners have players that they can extend, like really, really good players. Because you'd have to admit, I think the Niners probably have the best roster in the NFL still. This is what 4 years running that they've had the best roster in the NFL, arguably at least in the top three.
Ooh, so I think since they got CMC, it's been the undisputed best roster. And since it was clear that Brock is at worst solid, you know, the difference between Brock and Jimmy is like,
I mean, it's way higher than I thought. I think the facts are it sounded like, at least with the Ayuk stuff, that they could have done it earlier, but the Niners don't like to get deals done early because they try to extract as much as possible from the players, right? That happened to Kittle, happened to Warner. I think we're getting to a point where the players, my take is, I think we're getting to a point where the players have more leverage than I think the Niners think they do. I think Brandon Ayuk, who the Niners think that they could live without, they cannot live without. And that's, I think, a couple of reasons. One, Kyle Shanahan loves him, needs him, drafted him, moved up and paid for him. And then Brock Purdy needs him. I think Ayuk is the guy that Brock Purdy is probably going to be playing with the next 5 years. It's not going to be Kittle. It's not going to be Debo. I don't know if it's going to be CMC's not a receiver. I mean, almost is, but like that's the guy, right? That's his version of Burrows, Jamar Chase, or Travis Kelce. He's not as good as those guys, but I think that's the guy that I think you can't replicate that guy. You might be able to do that for one season, but for the next 5 seasons, you would think Brock's still on this team, Kyle's still on this team. They need that guy. And Trent, do we even need to argue about how valuable he is? So I think the Niners, don't understand how little leverage they have nowadays in these discussions, which is why, and proof is in the pudding, they end up paying these guys anyway. And if they had done it earlier, hindsight's 2020, but a lot of other teams pay players earlier, they could have saved themselves some money. And I think the last part is I think we're getting to a point. Maybe we can relate this back to Joe Lacob. We're getting to a point where Jet York's spending a lot of guaranteed money. Jet York wants to see a Super Bowl. I'm not saying this ends badly. Like Kyle's gonna be on this team. He's one of the best coaches in the freaking world. He's gonna be on this team. But you're starting to see, right? You're starting to see the ownership saying, do we want to spend all this money for a team that can't win a Super Bowl? You know what I mean? Like Joe Lacob's down to spend it because they were winning championships. The moment the Warriors were not winning championships, Joe Lacob's like, all right, it's actually really cool to have this full mid-level exception and be able to do signing trades. Actually really cool. You know what I mean? I think that's owners everywhere, man. And that's not even think Jet York's a bad owner. Like he's done really good things these last few years. Just I think we're starting to see a little, you know, so Jet York probably didn't want to pay all that guaranteed money to Brandon Ayuk, right?
Yeah, I think the other aspect of it is the Brock extension is coming. So there's going to be inevitable trade-offs that come when your quarterback makes more than the league minimum. So I think you hit it on the head. The players have more leverage than the Niners give them credit for, mostly because, like in Ayuk's case, he had 4 teams willing to throw him the money. Trent Williams was willing to. I mean, he's already sat out a season because he didn't trust the Washington. Right. I can't remember what their name was. Was it the Redskins then? Was it the football team? Was it it wasn't the Commanders era, but it was whatever it was. He was willing to sit out a full season, and I guarantee you, if he was available, there's 20 teams willing to give him whatever the hell he wants.
40 teams.
So, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's what happens when you get really good players. Everyone wants them, right? When you're shopping players who some people like, maybe it's not as good as you think.
Some Warriors players.
What are you most excited to see on the Niners side this season?
Dude, it's pretty easily. I think the defense is going to be elite, but I think it's pretty easily Brock Purdy. Dude, he's still young. I think he's still got a chance to be better than he was last season. I think most people, obviously everyone listening is either going to be a Niners fan or they're, you know, maybe they don't care as much. But I think most people in the Bay Area, right, probably believe that Brock's going to better. I think outside of the Bay Area, people think that, hey, Brock's kind of who he is, right? But he's still young. It's not like he's
they give him
years old.
They give him the Jimmy Garoppolo treatment where they're like, oh, well, he can run the system. It's like, bro, he's 24. You know, like he's started 22 games. Why? If he doesn't improve, then you got a bigger problem.
I actually think that's true.
Because if he does not improve this year, then I wonder if they even extend him or they start looking like, what if we go a different direction type of thing. I don't think they'll get that.
Yeah, I was going to say,
you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, that was the issue with Jimmy. Jimmy was good. And then he got hurt, and then he just never got any better. And if anything, he started getting worse because he just got slower.
Yeah.
And he got figured out. But like, that's why they wanted to move on from him. Like Kyle realized pretty early, like this guy just wants to vibe. He's happy with who he is in life. He's not looking to get better, you know?
That is Jimmy.
I mean, but it's like, that's the reality of it. Whereas like with Brock, it seems like he's a little more serious. We'll see. You never know. Like maybe he doesn't get better. Maybe this is just who he is.
What does he?
But I would think like you, he probably should get better.
He really. I mean, he's got all the right stuff. Maybe the only thing he doesn't have is he can't chuck the ball 80 yards. But like, what? I mean, okay, he could do everything else. So does he go from the top 12-ish QB tier to like top 5, 6? That'd be really cool. I think that's what I'm most excited about because defense going to be great, man. And offensive skill guys are going to be good. Kyle's going to be great as always. Like, it's how good is Brock going to be? Is he going to be in the same tier as, you know, CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow? You know what I mean? Like, is he going to be in that tier by the end of the season? Right? I know people put him in like the Jared Goff tier right now. Like, is he going to be for sure better than that tier?
So I'm looking at this right now, and wow, you said top 12. It's perfect. PFF ranked him 13th a couple days ago, so like start of the season.
Yeah,
right behind Trevor Lawrence. I'm not actually convinced he's worse than Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah,
Trevor Lawrence just has name cachet with the draft pick. Yeah. But to your point, number 7, Stafford. Number 6, Dak. Number 5, Justin Herbert. Yeah. First off, there's no reason he shouldn't be as good as like a Dak Prescott next year. You know, like that's I'm not asking him to get into the Josh Allen, Burrow, Mahomes tier.
Right.
But I don't see any reason why he can't jump to that like second tier of quarterback where you're like, these guys are clearly good enough to win with if they have the right roster. Like Stafford's underrated, but like perfect example, losing situation forever, goes to a good Rams team, gets over the hump, right? Can he get to that level of player? I don't think it's out of the cards at this point.
That'd be cool.
It's certainly too early to say he can't. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to see him have a couple years where there's no improvement, like Garoppolo, where you're like, this is just kind of who he is. You know, I watched it with Derek Carr forever. Derek Carr was a good quarterback who got in no way better after his 3rd year. And at a certain point, you know, you keep lying to yourself. You keep saying like, well, just a new coordinator. This offense they finally got him a receiver, gonna unlock it. Like, you know, you talk, the O-line's got more experience this year. Maybe he won't get happy. And at a certain point, you're like, no, he's just kind of the 17th best guy in the league. That's just who he is. You know, he's not bad, but he's also not very good. So
I wonder.
But it took me to like 29 to admit it with Derek Carr.
Who's still, by the way, still in the NFL, still starting, and the Saints are going to be decent. I don't know like too much about football. I'm not an expert, so I don't know the things that Brock Purdy can get better at. But I just all I know is it feels like the players talk about Brock Purdy like he is going to be a ton better. And that means we talk about Steph and Draymond when they talk about guys. If Steph and Draymond don't like guys, they'll tell you, or they won't say anything, right? Yeah. And with Brock, Kittle loves him. Fred Warner loves him. Fred Warner's the best player on that. Well, Nick Bosa's best player, but like those guys love him. That means a lot.
Trent Williams. Yeah, like when the leaders like you, that means they respect the way you go about your work and when the cameras aren't on. So yeah,
I need an Eli Manning playoff run from Brock Purdy. That's what I need. I think that's the tier he gets to. You know what I mean? He's like not a super duper star, but you know, good enough to get you to a championship and win one.
Drew Brees,
give me that. Drew
Brees
would be amazing. That is a good comp, though. That is the comp. Is Drew Brees?
I mean, if I was to say what's the number one thing he can get better at, I don't think he's gonna magically turn his arm into Josh Allen or Mahomes.
Farther.
It's gonna be mostly like improving your accuracy. He's already pretty accurate, just like have less mistakes and quicker decision making.
Yeah,
it's really just that. You know, it's not that.
Just that, you know what I mean? But
I'm not saying, but it's like, I mean, it's like, you know, that's kind of the name of the game, right?
It's kind of like
can you read the defense?
Just like kind of how Draymond, when he got into the NBA, he just immediately knew how to read an offense and know exactly where to be. Those things we can't really see, especially in football. We can't see because we can't see the whole field. You watching Trey Lance, right? He can't figure out a defense. And that's something that
it never changed. That was the most disconcerting part about it. You're like, well, just give him a little more seasoning. Give him a little. You know, it's just like, well, maybe, but it just never came around. You know,
shout out to the Cowboys. Good for you guys.
Yeah, we'll end it there. Appreciate everyone. Rate, subscribe, talk shit.